Hey, how you doing? This is Tom, and this is Tom's Radio Room Show, and I'm so glad you're stopping by. It's a grand day here in Clearwater, Florida. The weather is beautiful, but what the weatherman tells me is that after probably tomorrow, it's going to turn hot. It'll be hot for the next 3 or 4 months. Anyway, so much for the weather report. I want to talk to you about this thing right here. This is, and I've already opened it, and I've kind of just temporarily resealed it to show you shipping. Shipping from Amazon has always been really poor. Now, as far as getting things on time or even ahead of time, that's been great. But their packaging has always been dismal. And I'll show you why. I've opened this and I've taken the item out. But I put the box that contains the item back in here to show you what I'm talking about. So let's just pop this back open again. And I'll show you what I mean. And this is kind of typical for all the packages, the thousands of packages I have received from them. Alright, here is the item. Just loosen the box. Got this little piece of packing material, and the box is about 2 or 3 times the height of this. So this is just going to flop around in there. And this is typical. So anyway, I just wanted to show you that. I'm always concerned when I get something like this. Luckily, most of the makers make a pretty good shipping box in itself. So, and I'll show you that in a second. So usually the equipment is not damaged, but you know, this box is way too big. I'm sure what it is they have a finite number of box sizes and styles, and so they just pick whatever's closest. And since this is kind of tall or long or whatever, they picked this one. But the problem is, why didn't they put more packing material in here? There's no bubble wrap, or it's just, I mean, this thing, look how much it can move this way. Not to mention it moves this way. It's pretty atrocious. Anyway, I wasted enough time on the box. Let's get down to what we're going to show you. This is, and I ran across it last week. I can't remember how. Doesn't matter. But anyway, this is from Amazon. It's by a company called TackLife. And they make a number of these meters in different styles and everything. But they're super inexpensive. Now, when I did a search on the internet after I got this to see if I could find out what kind of other information is available, I found several, 3 or 4 YouTube videos on this. And one of them was as old as 2016. So this has been around for a while. And like I say, if you go on Amazon, there's a whole bunch of different varieties of this. You will not believe the price. And I'm going to kind of hold off on the price until I show you the instrument. And in this video, I'm just going to kind of do an introduction of the instrument. And then in subsequent videos, I will do some testing. All right, so here's what it comes in this box. And, uh-oh, it's gone. Oh, that's right, I took it out. So we'll put this box aside. This is a fairly sturdy box. Now, it didn't have any additional packing. And the reason it didn't have to is because it came in this nice pouch. Oh, where'd the meter go? I lost the meter. Anyway, so this was cushioning it. And so as far as I'm concerned, their packing was fine. So the instrument was inside this, along with the leads and the batteries and I don't know what else. The manual. All right, now let's get to it. Here it is. And you can see I've already been using it. And it's the first thing I noticed, and let me zoom in a little bit here. I don't know if my focus is right, but let's zoom in. Yeah, it's too far. All right. First thing I noticed was that it's hefty. It's not light. Now, I don't have one here right at hand, but here is my kind of go-to tester. This is by TechPower, another one of those very famous Chinese makers, and this has served me well. The beauty of this one is it has an RS-232 interface, so you can record readings on your computer. And I use this all the time. And what I'll probably do is I'll use this as a comparison to this one, because this one I've used it quite a bit and the accuracy is good. So we're going to set that aside for now. Now, what is unique? Did I say now 3 times in a row? All right. What's unique about this one, and kind of new to me, not real new, but kind of new to me, is this clamp-on feature. And this is kind of strong spring. You can really build up the muscle in my thumb there. I have an old meter similar to this, probably 20 years old, that was a clamp-on meter, but back then you could only measure current on AC with these things. And what you have to do is you have to have the 2 lines or 3 lines of the AC separated so you can clamp onto just one of the lines. When I say clamp on, I mean put this in the loop like that. And if you have just your regular wiring where it's all contained in one wire, shielded wire, this is not going to work, because the power going one way to the device and back to the return of the power supply, by clamping over both leads or all 3 leads, it's going to cancel out and you won't get a reading. They make, and what came with my other meter is a little gizmo that you plug into the AC power line, and it breaks off in a plastic shell. It breaks off the 2 phases or 2 leads to the AC, and then you can clamp your meter into that little gizmo, and then you can do your current measurements. I'm talking about current measurements. Well, a couple of years ago, and I don't know how many years ago, they started making these devices so that you could do the same thing with DC. I don't have no idea how it works, but it works. And at that time, they were pretty expensive. To get a meter that had the clip-on feature for measuring current on DC and AC was quite expensive. It was typically 2 to 3 times the cost of one that just did AC. Well, nowadays, apparently, you can get them, and they're fairly expensive. And I'll get to the price later, so stay with me. Okay, functions. This has a bazillion functions. Let me see if I can. I'll cheat here, and I'm going to go to the Amazon webpage, and I'm going to go down and look at the functions, because it has so many functions. It's unbelievable, and you won't believe the price. I'll get to that later. Okay, features, and they're calling it special features. Auto ranging digital clamp meter. It's auto ranging, so you don't have to select, a range. You just select a function, and it auto ranges. If you have a voltage that is greater than 10 volts, it'll go to the next range, to like 10 to 100. Auto ranging. Diode tester, so you can check diodes, see if they're open or shorted. A non-contact voltage detector. Now, you may have seen one of my videos where I had this little gizmo that looked like a big fat pin that you hold up against a power line, and the light would start flickering if there was power in that line or in that circuit. That's what that's talking about. So that's this little tip right here. Let me get back so I can see my camera so I'm pointing to it. This little tip right here, you just hold it up against a power line, and if there's power flowing through there, it'll flash. It has a built-in light, and the built-in light will flash. All right, let me go back to my cheat sheet here. AC/DC voltage, of course, AC/DC current using the clamp-on feature. Capacitance testing. Usually you didn't find that in multimeters several years ago. A continuity checker, and what it means by a continuity checker, it's just checks for open and open and continuous circuit by providing a beep instead of having to look at the resistance. And then of course it's got resistance, and it's a frequency meter. Now I haven't delved into how you do that, but it's a frequency meter and a duty cycle meter. Boy, that's whoa, out of my neighborhood. I don't know how it's going to do that. It has over voltage protection. It's quick sampling. It has a high sample rate, and that means that it's sampling for the voltage or resistance at a high rate, so you don't have to sit there and wait for it to give you a sample. Now, early on, several years ago, these digital meters, the expensive ones, they would sample at like once every second. So you would put something, you would connect the meter to something, and you go, oh, there's no voltage there. Well, you had to wait till it came around and did a sample of the voltage. Well, nowadays these meters, and this is not unique to this meter, they sample much faster. Has a low battery display, automatic power off. I haven't learned how to override that, but that kind of drives me nuts right now. Again, I haven't delved into the manual. I hope there's a way to shut that off and have it stay on so you don't have to keep turning it on. I'll have to check into that. And what is the duration of the auto power off? It's got a sample and hold, so you can take a sample and tell it to hold that sample, and then you can look at it like me and like get my eyes focused. Has a zero function. This is new to me. I haven't ever seen a meter with a zero function. The display down here is an LCD display, and for me, if I'm working like down in a circuit or down in the radio or something, it's hard to read, but it does have a backlight feature, which makes it easy to read. Yeah, okay, it's 8 o'clock in the morning and time for all these little airplanes to take off from the local airport on their weekend venture. It comes with the meter, 2 test leads, 3 AAA batteries, a user manual, and a 24-month warranty. I don't know what that's worth. Typically, the cost of returning something is more than just buying a new one. And I'll get to the price later. Batteries are included. It uses AAA batteries. Now, what threw me off a little bit is they sent you batteries. They're zinc carbon batteries, and it had on the box this warning about lithium battery. I don't think there's any lithium battery in this thing, so I don't know what that was about. Oh, I see. I still got the covering over the display. Oh, wow! Now I can read it. What a difference! It's amazing when you get older how many dumb things you do. Like, for instance, I don't have one here, but let me unplug it. Let me get back to the camera so I can see where the camera's pointing. When I first got this, and these leads right here, and I'll try to show you. These are leads that have these this is the new way to go, protected connectors. So they're inside this little cone. Well, they come shipped with a cover that's inserted down in each one of these things. Well, I didn't pay attention to that, so I'm trying to plug this thing in, and it won't go in. I'm like, uh-oh, I got a defective one. And then I'm like, oh, it's got those covers on it, so I took the covers off. It goes right in. What a dummy. Let me put these in back in now. All right, so these are the leads. There's a mosquito in here. Well, that's going to drive me nuts. That time of the year in Florida, mosquitoes are out. Here's the test leads. Fairly long test leads. They come with these little protectors. I suggest you don't lose those because these points are really sharp. And so you kind of want to keep those covers on when you're not using this meter. I mean, they are super sharp. So I'm going to put those back on right now so that since I'm talking, I won't stab myself because that would probably be a little painful. Okay, that's kind of an overview of the radio. Radio? What they're talking about, Tom? Meter. Now, one thing that kind of I was a little concerned about is the battery cover right here. There's the battery cover. Is held in by this screw right here. That's a tiny screw. And boy, that screw would be, if you're working in your workshop like I am right now, with tons of junk in this room, if I dropped that screw, I'd never find it again. I would never, it would go under something I would never find again. So I made sure when I took that off, I had it over the bench. And sure enough, it flopped down on the bench. So I didn't lose it. That's a little bit of a drawback, but it makes the cover very secure. The cover's not going to accidentally pop off. But if you lose that screw, and since it's so small, you might have a hard time finding one, you're going to have to use some way to, like duct tape or something that's closed. Now, I'm going to risk it here. Let me get a screwdriver. I say, let me get a screwdriver. It was just out of my reach. For you, I'm going to take that screw out and try to be very careful. And I just want to show you the battery compartment. Now the other thing is, to get the cover off, you have to turn it over, which means the screw will fall out. And then the cover falls out. And then there's a little finger down here that holds it in place. This is what it uses for batteries. It uses 3 AAA batteries that come with it. Now my advice, if you get one of these, and I really suggest you get one of this pretty cool little meter, especially when you learn what the price is. These are Chinese batteries. Don't put those in. I did just as a quick convenience. I'm not going to leave them in there. What I'm going to do with these batteries, I'm going to throw them away. Because these batteries, I can almost guarantee will leak. Can almost guarantee it. Because they're some kind of Goldman brand. And you definitely don't want those batteries to leak. So my suggestion is you throw those batteries away. I think you can use rechargeable batteries. I'll have to check on that because rechargeable batteries are a lower voltage. They're only like 1.4 volts instead of 1.5. I'll have to check on and see if rechargeables work. Anyway, get you some Duracells and put in here instead of these. I just put these in there because they came with it, just to show you what it comes with and to warn you about not using them. Don't use those batteries. I mean, in general, anything that you value electronics-wise, including your TV remotes, don't put cheap batteries in it. They will leak and they will destroy the item. And now you're got a TV with no remote. All right, so we put that back together. Now, like I said, this is kind of an introduction, and I'm just going to quickly show you the display and the little rotary thing here, and then we'll see if we can zoom in here without totally losing my focus. That's as far as I can go. I'm sorry. Stand by. I got to take a little drink here. Still got this sinus infection. All right. So this little gizmo here is your clamp thing right there. So if you're going to measure current, now you can measure both AC and DC. And I don't mean use this wire, but take your, oh, here's a wire I can use. You take your wire and clamp this over it. One of the 2 or 3 leads. If it's AC, the hot lead of the AC. If it's DC, then I believe it'll work on plus or minus side. It doesn't matter. And then now it's going to measure current flow. And we're going to check the accuracy in another show. This is the function select rotary knob. Kind of, oh gosh, my elbow is so bony. Jeez. So you can do this one-handed and turn this knob. Now, the display is on. There it goes. I get the light just right and you can see the display. So right here, this round button is the backlight. You hold it down and then the backlight comes on. And then, although it doesn't show up on the camera too well, it's really easy to read. It is super bright and clear. Very easy to read. So that backlight, that's really, for me, that's really nice. Especially when you're down inside something and it's shadowed, you know, so you don't have any light coming in, because these LCD displays depend on having ambient light. Well, that backlight, and it's a nice, fairly even backlight, even though it's not a backlight, it's a side lit. Won't show up on my camera, but there's 2 LEDs on this side that light it. But the display is perfect. Auto ranging, I'm not really sure what the 0 function does, because if you hit the 0 function before you take a reading, okay, the reading goes to 0, but it's still drifting around a little bit. Let me see if I can show you. See, it's still drifting around, so it doesn't stay at 0, but it gets better than what it was. But if you take, for instance, what? Now, another annoyance is the indicator, which you probably cannot see, and it's because it's not very easy to see. Let me use one of these probes to point it out. Right now, it's pointing. It's right there. It's kind of a hole that's drilled into this thing, and so it's pointing right here. Not easy to see. I would suggest, it's not easy for me to see. Now, you young guys, you won't have any problem at all. But me, I can't see it. So I'm going to have to make it easier. It's not impossible for me to read, but to make it easier, I'm going to paint little white dot there in that little hole so that I can see it easier, especially in the dark. Because again, once you get this down inside of a cabinet or something, and you want to change your readings, it's going to be a little difficult for me to see. Now, other thing it has a light. So when I turn the backlight on, this light came on too. Now I can see, and you can see I haven't done any measurements, and it stayed on for quite a while. Okay, moving on. So we can come back down here. We can read voltage, we can read ohms or resistance, diode test with a beep or continuity test. This position is marked hertz and percent. I'll have to look into what that function does. I don't know. It's supposed to give you frequency, but how you make a frequency meter, how do you make a frequency test, and what is it testing? For instance, will it test the frequency of your AC coming into your house that you're measuring? Will it tell you that it's 60 hertz in the United States or whatever? Now, anyway, and then it's got 2 current positions. The first one is 40 amps. 40 amps. That's higher than most meters. Let me see what this one says. See if it tells me. I'm trying to see if it tells me on here. Yeah, the maximum on this one is 10 amps. Now, this is with the meter in line. This is not a clamp on. So this says you can put a maximum of 40 amps into this meter. Now this is a clamp on, so I guess that gives them the capability of going to higher readings. The next setting is 400 amps. I don't think I want to make any measurements around something that has 400 amps going through it. Now, what you can do, for instance, and I actually saw a video on that, is you can take it to your vehicle and measure the current in your power lines, your 12 volt DC. And you don't want to measure cranking current, because cranking current is typically for a vehicle over 400 amps. It's like 600 amps and higher. It might damage this, but you can check, for instance, what your generator is generating as far as charging your battery. Just clip this onto one of the two wires, go into your battery, and it'll give you a measurement of current. Isn't that cool? That, I like to test that too. All right. I think that's about it. Like I say, we got down here, we got select, which is like selecting between a DC and AC reading. We've got hertz or percent of power or something. I have to look into that. We get the zero function, and we have the hold function. To take a sample and hold it. Don't take any more samples until you hit that button again. Very, very versatile. I don't know if I mentioned it, but you can, this is the little probe, I'll call it, for checking to see if there is AC present. I'm not sure which mode you put that in to do that. I did it yesterday when I got this, but now I don't remember. I don't even remember what I had for breakfast, for cripe's sakes. Anyway, I was trying to see if I could, there was an AC power line close by. That's not the right position, obviously, because it didn't make any sound. That's not the right position. Oh boy, I feel like a dummy. Oh, here it is, way up here. NCV, non-connected voltage measurement. Can you hear that? That was a AC power line over there. It's off camera, so you can't see it. But when I brought this close to it, it started beeping and the light started flashing. Said there is AC on that power cord. That feature alone, I did a review of one of these things. That's all it did, and I think it was like $9.95. This just one of the many functions of this thing. Okay, I jabbered enough. I'm going to tell you the price, and I'm going to go to Amazon so I don't mess up on the price. And this is the price as of right now, and I bought it about 3 days ago. So that apparently that price is the going price for this meter. And this is the Multimeter TackLife model CM01A. And this is kind of near the, well, kind of middle of the range of meters. So they have ones that don't have the clamp on. They're cheaper. This is the clamp on, and then I think they have some that are a little more fancy. I don't know how they could be more fancy. Anyway, this one is $15.97. I just can't believe it. I mean, I paid nearly $40 for this one. And granted, it does have the RS-232 interface, which will only work on older computers because most computers nowadays don't have an RS-232 interface, but you can get an adapter to go from RS-232 to USB. So this one was like $40, or maybe even more than that. Maybe it's $45. This one is $15.97. Yeah, and like I say, it's pretty hefty. The seams are real good. You know, not kind of like doesn't meet, the two pieces don't meet properly. They meet really good. I I'm impressed. And nice display. I'm impressed. If you're in need of a meter, a multimeter, I mean, if you only use this for a backup, $16, how can you possibly go wrong? Of course, I'm going to put it in my Amazon store, and the link to my Amazon store is below each of my newer videos. Now, I haven't corrected the link for my real old videos, which went to my original store, which don't exist anymore. So anyway, that's it. Again, one more time, and Amazon's got the best price. I checked several other places, and when I looked at the video from about a year ago, a year and a half ago, these were $40. Now they're $15.97. And the reviews, it gets 4 stars out of 5 on Amazon. That's pretty darn good. Anyway, I think that's it. I will be doing some more shows, maybe not the next immediate show, on this, showing it working. For instance, using this clip-on feature to measure DC and do some voltage checks to compare it to this one as far as the reading and some other things, or anything you want me to try. I've got to learn about what this frequency measurement and percent of something measurement is, and I'll try to see if I can do a test on that. Anyway, that's it. If you enjoyed this show, please give me a thumbs up. Thanks for stopping by, and have a great day. Bye-bye.